Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Now here's your host, Josh Guesman.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, flying solo again this week. It's 2 shows in a row, you lucky dogs, you. LA Galaxy get ready to take on FC Dallas. It is MLS 2017 season opener for the LA Galaxy on Saturday at 1 o'clock. FC Dallas coming in after some CCL victories, looking really good. LA Galaxy are going to have a lot of work to do. Coming up on the show today, we're going to be joined by LA Galaxy 2 head coach Mike Muñoz. Good to have Mike back on the show. Also scheduled to appear is Mr. Dave Denholm. You've heard him on ESPN 710, as well as doing some games as a broadcaster on Fox Sports. So we're going to have Dave on the show, and hopefully that'll be a lot of fun as well. Dave's always great. And Dave and I get to talk about a little conversation that we had with Jelle Van Damme, but that's coming up in just a little bit. The LA Galaxy super busy in the last couple days, and that's to be expected. They actually, we told you about this. This is stuff that we told you about. And if you got caught by surprise, it's not my fault. You can't blame me. All right. The LA Galaxy making some recent signings for the LA Galaxy, grabbing some LA Galaxy 2 guys, as again we expected to happen. So the LA Galaxy have signed defender Nathan Smith as a homegrown player. Smith is a 22-year-old player. He's another defender. I think he can play central back. You saw him at left back as well. So he is a sort of left back, center back sort of a guy, a lot like Dave Romney. You remember when Jelle Van Damme came out of the Portland game that Jelle went to the locker room, and in came Dave Romney. Dave Romney was already in. Dave Romney slid over to play in the central central defense position, and then Nathan Smith was on that left-hand side. So Nathan Smith gets signed by the LA Galaxy. Again, another signing by the LA Galaxy. They have signed midfielder Jaime Villarreal. This is the younger brother of Jose Villarreal. Jaime, 21 years old, had a great year for LA Galaxy 2. If you have been listening to me about LA Galaxy 2 guys, Jaime Villarreal is one of those guys who has played his way onto the senior team, probably more so than his brother, in my opinion. This is a kid who seems comfortable on the ball. He scored the goal in the Jolos game there. Was it the Jolos game, or was that Jose? I think maybe Jose scored that one. Yeah, it was Jose that scored that one, and Jaime scored the one that was in the closed-door scrimmage against Real Salt Lake. So Jaime getting on the board as well. Great kid. Both of them, have a similar style. I think Jaime may have a higher upside. I don't know. Sometimes you see those younger brothers having to play against their older brothers, and that somehow puts them ahead whenever you look at all that. So you have that as well. Just some interesting signings. This is the stuff that we told you the LA Galaxy were going to do. And realistically, that's exactly what they have done. In addition, the LA Galaxy have also signed from LA Galaxy to defender Bradley Diallo. Listen, you got 2 defenders here. And the reason that they're coming in is because the LA Galaxy have been pretty thin at defender. And honestly, the LA Galaxy, before these last couple days, were sitting at, I think, 22 or 23 players signed, signing 3 more players, and I think there might even be a goalkeeper that's also going to be signed here coming up as well. It looks like Dan Kennedy, I don't know if we've talked about this at all, but it looks like Dan Kennedy is either going to retire or is going to be released. It seems like that is sort of the announcement that everybody's waiting to happen, is that Dan Kennedy comes down. And I do not know. Listen, the most important part of all this is going to be salary cap and what Dan Kennedy and what relief the LA Galaxy can get off of the salary cap, because I think Dan Kennedy makes about $180,000. If you can get rid of all of that, that would be wonderful, because realistically that is, another defender that you can sign, or another goalkeeper. A much younger goalkeeper is not going to take up $180,000. So that's a good chunk of change the LA Galaxy could see some relief from. I don't know what Dan Kennedy's plans are. I think there's rumors that perhaps he would be going and doing TV. I don't know if that's the case, and so it's something just to watch. But it looks like Dan Kennedy's sort of run with the LA Galaxy, if you'll remember, played the first game last season, first 20 minutes, and came out with an injury, and Brian Rowe went in. And besides the game, I think, against Philadelphia in Philly, it was pretty much Brian Rowe throughout the rest of the year, and even I think whenever Rowe couldn't make it, it was Diop. So we told you the progression and sort of the list of how those goalkeepers were going to go, and it was going to go Brian Rowe as the number one, and then easily it was going to be Clement Diop as the number two. So and that seems to be the case, and so expect anybody else to come in. But Bradley Diallo is a defender, realistically, who may have made the jump last year if it wasn't for an ACL injury. Last year played only 5 games, I believe, for LA Galaxy 2, as he was out for most of the year with that injury. So he's made 46 appearances in 3 seasons with LA Galaxy 2. And again, the 5 appearances for the clubs after the preseason ACL injury was sort of the major thing. He's young enough at 26 that I don't think you worry about the ACL too much, and quite honestly, for this kid and what you're looking for, I don't know that you're all that concerned, whether he makes it or not. He's from Marseille, France. You got another Marseille in the house with Romain Alessandrini, and I will correct my saying it is Romain. It is Romain Alessandrini. That is the correct pronunciation from the club. So Romain Alessandrini, also from Marseille. You have Bradley Diallo from Marseille as well. There are now 3 French guys on this team. I believe there's three. I believe there's 3. You have Romain Alessandrini, Clement Diop, and then Bradley Diallo. If you want to throw Sebastian Lletget in there, you can, only because he looks exactly like Romain Alessandrini, and who can tell him apart? He could be from France as well, probably from the Bay Area for Sebastian Lletget. But regardless of how that goes, also you have to look and Laurent Courtois on the LA Galaxy 2 coaching staff as well, with Mike Muñoz. So those are sort of the things that we have put in place for LA Galaxy 2, and sort of maybe the French connection. It seems like there's a lot of French. 3 players on a whole system. There could even be more than I'm missing. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. If you look at all of these signings that have been made, the LA Galaxy have signed a bunch of guys now from LA Galaxy 2. This is very, very interesting in terms of the philosophy that's coming through, that how important it is for the LA Galaxy Academy, LA Galaxy 2, to now feed the senior team. That's what you have. So that's really interesting. It's one of the things we're going to sort of talk about in philosophy with Mike Muñoz whenever he comes on the show here in just a little bit. Is, what is his mindset for LA Galaxy 2? Because ultimately, whenever we talk to Kurt Analfo, we know that Kurt was saying, hey, it's not about wins and losses for LA Galaxy 2. And so it'll be interesting to hear what Mike Muñoz has to say about that as well, because ultimately the goal, and as I understand it from the organization and been told by Chris Klein, is the goal is for LA Galaxy 2 teams, not to win games or lose games. That doesn't matter. Ultimately, it's about them and what they can do for the LA Galaxy, the senior team. So wins and losses at Los Dos don't count, all right? It's all about the senior team and the emphasis that this particular organization now has put on the academy, on the younger players, and supplementing their academy and these guys who are now ready for LA Galaxy, supplementing that with, a guy like Romain Alessandrini or Joao Pedro. Joao Pedro is just such an out-of-the-box signing for this LA Galaxy team, and I'm telling you right now, I love it. Having watched him in that Portland game, you can certainly understand why there's some excitement. There's going to be a learning curve. Listen, there's never not a learning curve, all right? Even Jelle Van Dam had a learning curve into LA Galaxy in the season with MLS, all right? So it certainly was something that is still going to take some time, but you got a guy like Jermaine Jones who seems like he's fully healthy and fit. Heard rumors that he even said that perhaps he was feeling the best he ever has in his career. So it's really interesting to sort of see that. I'd love to know your takes on these new signings, Nathan Smith, Jaime Villarreal, and Bradley Diallo. If you have any questions or comments or, what the LA Galaxy team is doing. We told you they were going to fill out the rest of the roster with these LA Galaxy 2 guys. That is exactly what has happened. So the LA Galaxy roster getting closer to full as we enter basically just a couple days now until the LA Galaxy host FC Dallas for the season opener. So a lot of fun stuff coming up for LA Galaxy. This is going to be such an interesting team. And the game coming up on Saturday, I mean, I don't know that the LA Galaxy could have asked for a tougher opponent, realistically. The FC Dallas Supporters Shield winners, U.S. Open Cup winners, just ridiculously talented team who has already just trashed their opponent in the CONCACAF Champions League they were involved in. So you look at what they're doing and the momentum that they are riding right now. They're coming for the LA Galaxy, and if you're a Galaxy fan, that should worry you in terms of this could be a slow start for the LA Galaxy. We've said it all along. This team realistically is still coming together, and FC Dallas already looks like they're firing on all cylinders. Although you certainly have to wonder if the quality of competition had anything to do with that whatsoever. So it's something I'm going to talk about here a little bit later. Is looking at the LA Galaxy FC Dallas game and sort of what we think. I think we're going to get Dave Denholm to sort of give us some information on that as well. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take a break. And whenever I take a break, what we're going to do is we are going to get to talk to LA Galaxy 2 head coach Mike Muñoz. And Mike is going to be a great interview, always great. We've had him on a couple years ago. But he is back right here on Corner of the Galaxy. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com.
Ready for some more Corner of the Galaxy? Don't forget to head over to the website for all the latest podcasts, news, and more. Visit us online at cornerofthegalaxy.com.
Welcome back to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com, our live show here. Now going to be joined by a man who joined us a couple years ago as an LA Galaxy Academy coach, but now he has taken over the mantle as LA Galaxy 2 head coach. Please welcome back to the show, very good friend, Mr. Mike Muñoz. Mike, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks a lot for having me. Good to be back.
Yeah, I was going to say, we were talking just before we started. It's been a couple years, and that's my fault, and I apologize because you've been doing great work at the Academy, and apparently it was so good. You are now the LA Galaxy 2 head coach. How does that?
Very honored, very excited for this next project within the club. Obviously, it's going to be very correlated and very tight-knit within the Academy structure and our youth development system. So we just felt that this was the next step and the appropriate time to take this on.
Yeah, and the LA Galaxy 2 season rapidly approaches as you guys have your first kickoff on March 25th on Saturday as you host Vancouver Whitecaps FC2. A change in the senior team level with lots of guys coming in and out. It seems like they're stealing a lot of LA Galaxy 2 guys, Mike. I'm wondering how the roster's coming and sort of how you see this LA Galaxy 2 team coming together for this season.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, really excited for our young guys within our club. The opportunity to work under Kurt for the past number of years, and really starting to get the chance, at the first team level. So, in terms of preseason over the past month and a half, most of the Galaxy 2 signed players have been with the first team on a daily basis. Training with first team players, getting that experience. As you can see, just, as in today, Jaime and Nate Smith, getting signed first-team contracts and much deserved. Guys are getting that taste and they're getting that feel up there. It's only going to make us stronger for the Galaxy 2 season. A little bit of a challenge from my end, just in terms of not being able to work with these guys on a daily basis. But that's part of the job. I mean, that's why we're here.
Yeah, I would say in some ways that maybe the LA Galaxy 2 coach has one of the hardest jobs in Major League Soccer. I know whenever Kurt was down at LA Galaxy 2, constant roster changes, and maybe at last minute, guys who would be playing up with the senior team. So the guy that you knew was definitely going to start that game is now up with the senior team. How do you approach the mindset of LA Galaxy 2? I know sort of what Kurt's idea and how he approached it last year, but how do you approach LA Galaxy 2?
So, the way we're going to approach it this year is we kind of see it as, the next cycle of players. Kurt's kind of taken that first generation of Galaxy 2 players and progressing them to the senior team. Now we kind of see this next project as another 2 to 3 year project where we can bring in the next crop and really hopefully develop these guys to make the senior team in 2 or 3 years. We're going to be extremely young this year, which is fine, no problem from our end. But we also feel that we do have an exciting crop of academy kids, breaking through the system and going to be given a real chance, just like Kurt did, for the past couple of years.
Mike, the thing that always interests me is, what is your philosophy? We understood what Kurt and Alfo's philosophy was in terms of whenever he was coaching LA Galaxy 2, but what is going to be your philosophy and how do you want to see these LA Galaxy 2 kids play?
So in terms of our, playing philosophy for Galaxy 2, in an ideal world, we're going to want to dominate games with the ball. We're going to want to have control. Our possession stats, we look to be, higher than the opposition, but even more importantly, we look for our stats, in the opponent's half. At the same time, we want to make sure that we're limiting our opponent with time on the ball and in dangerous areas. So it's a dominating, style of football that we want to play. I understand the challenges of USL and what that's going to bring in terms of our young kids. But we definitely want to be on the forefront, the protagonist, where the ball is at the center of everything that we do.
Yeah, and one of the things that, I look at the roster, not a lot of names on it. We expect some academy kids to come up and fill a big portion of this roster as well, so that's all expected to happen. But the other thing that sort of popped up, and something I definitely wanted to get your take on, is that LA Galaxy 2 are going to have announced their first ever open tryouts in England. And I looked at this. This is England during the summer of 2017. The tryouts will be held in London at the Hive on May 31st and June 1st, and again in Manchester at University of Manchester Armitage Sports Centre on June 3rd and 4th. In my mind, Mike, when I first see that, I go, kind of a cool concept. You're going to go into basically the lion's den, and you're going to tell them that you are going to find some talent that maybe either has been overlooked or for whatever reason just isn't necessarily playing in England as much as maybe they could, or is looking for that chance to progress into Major League Soccer and see USL as a step. I mean, is that sort of the idea behind that?
It is. We know how difficult it is for English players to break in, into the Premier League and other local clubs. So it's another market that we want to tap into. We've just gotten back from Japan as well.
Right.
And right now, we're looking to sign international players as well. Not necessarily 27, 28, 29-year-olds. But young guys who, at the end of the day, we think have first-team potential, we're extremely open to.
No, it's an interesting call. I will say that it also, in my mind, a flag goes up and says maybe a bit of a publicity stunt, but not in a bad way. I don't want to say that because it certainly ruffles feathers in England immediately whenever you do that. And it raises eyebrows, and it does a whole bunch of things that I think is good for the LA Galaxy as a whole, and especially for LA Galaxy 2. And if you can I think eventually you're going to have 10 players that come back with you for an extended tryout here in the United States. Is that correct?
That's the plan. That's the goal. I mean, just, from the previous tryouts over Japan and domestically, We had, a good 20, 25 players coming out on a weekly basis, and the quality was very, very, very high. So the fact that we're going to continue to do this, it's only going to, once again, challenge the current guys at Galaxy 2, but at the same time make our organization better overall.
Again, the season will open up here on March 25th for LA Galaxy 2. We have LA Galaxy 2 head coach Mike Muñoz joining us. Mike, USL is sometimes, I think I describe it as, frenetic soccer. It's sprint this way and sprint that way. You're going to have a young team against, as you said, a lot more experienced guys. What are your goals for this LA Galaxy 2 team?
Our goals are to get like I said, the next wave, the next crop ready to play for the first team. That's first and foremost. If we can get 4 or 5 guys first team contracts next year, then we've accomplished our goals. That has nothing to do with wins and losses. That has nothing to do with making playoffs. I'm as competitive as anybody out there, but that's not really the priority of what we're trying to do. We're the LA Galaxy. So obviously there's standards and expectations in terms of winning, et cetera. But can we develop the next players to play at StubHub Center for the first team? That's the number one priority.
Yeah, and I always think that's such an interesting way of looking. We always think of soccer, especially most fans, soccer is about winning and losing. And in this particular case, it is absolutely zero to do with winning and losing, but in developing those players for the senior team. So that way the senior team can win those games instead of lose those games, and that's the ultimate goal here. What would you tell the people who maybe are on the fence about coming out to an LA Galaxy 2 game? What can you tell them to get them out to that first game in March 25th?
Yeah, they're going to see the future of our club. So that's the reality. We're going to be young, but I can tell you right now that our youth are fearless. They aren't jaded. They play exciting football. They're technical, they are intelligent, and we take risks. We're going to take chances, and we're going to play a good type of football that, regardless of the opponent, regardless of the environment, regardless of the age, we're going to stick to our guns. And it's exciting because we feel that we have a good young crop of players that really our fans should buy into, for the coming, number of years.
Yeah, and super accessible as well. This is the place to get in on the ground floor. I had a bunch of fun watching LA Galaxy 2 games. I will be out there covering those games again as much as I possibly can. So, Mike, I'm sure I'll be talking to you here in the next future, probably after a Los Dos win. So, congratulations again on the head coaching job, and I'm sure that we'll see a lot more of you and hear a lot more from you on the show as the year goes on. All right, Mike?
Awesome, Josh. Looking forward to it.
All right. There goes LA Galaxy 2 head coach Mike Muñoz, a great guy. Always love having him on the show. And like I said, I'm sure we're gonna have a bunch to talk about with him as this season continues. All right. Whenever I get back, still coming up on the show, we should be joined by ESPN 710 LA 710, ESPN 710, however you want to say it, a million different ways. Dave Denholm should be coming up on the show as well, and we'll also be ready to take your calls. So we got more coming up right here on Corner of the Galaxy. You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'll be right back.
Living in my head, breathing in the noise. The struggle's like an open mouth without a voice. So here's to you and I, canary down the mine. That's all this was, a warning sign, a warning sign.
Welcome back to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Got our live show rocking and rolling here. Thanks to LA Galaxy 2 head coach Mike Muñoz for coming on. Tried to get Mike on last week, but it worked better this week. Glad to have him on. And again, you get the philosophy of LA Galaxy 2. You start to hear how everything is falling in terms of the relation to LA Galaxy, the senior team, LA Galaxy 2, the academy, and how that continues, just down the path and how everything sort of works together there. The LA Galaxy getting ready, obviously, for their season opener against FC Dallas. If you go to cornerofthegalaxy.com, if you see right here on the bottom of the screen, cornerofthegalaxy.com, you can, of course, get our article that Stephen wrote with the play-by-play announcer for FC Dallas, who's talking about Dallas and their additions. I also invite you to head on over to our website, go on the Contact Us page, and you can sign up for the Friday substitution. This is our weekly COG email that will highlight some of our good content that we put out during the week so that you don't miss anything. Gets sent directly to your inbox. Also going to be some discounts on merchandise in there in the future as well. So head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com, click on the Contact Us button. You'll see that there's a place where you can send us an email if you want to, but what you want to do is go, I think, right below that, and that's where you can sign up for the Friday substitution. So please do that. Sign up right away. The next episode or the next email will go out on a Friday, the day before the LA Galaxy take on FC Dallas. So that is coming up in just a bit. LA Galaxy advised fans to arrive early for Saturday's season opener. You have been warned. The gates at A&D will open at 8 a.m. Gates to the stadium itself will open at 11:30 a.m. And, of course, they have the Galaxy Express option right now. You can get that from the Harbor Gateway Transit Center as well as the Del Amo Station. This is a bus provided by Long Beach Transit Authority, and what they'll do basically is get you right onto the show, or right onto the game, and it's free. You park at those places, and then you go and you park there for free, and then you simply go and ride the bus, and it gets taken right to you. All right. We're going to be joined by a man who I was lucky enough to run into. It was our first meeting ever, which is ridiculous. Whenever you think about it, he has been a co-host, a guest co-host on the show so many times that it's hard to imagine that Dave Denholm and I had never met in person, but that had all been taken care of. Please welcome ESPN 710 LA's Dave Denholm. Also does some stuff for Fox Sports as well. Dave, welcome to the show, buddy.
How are you? I am getting so old that I still don't believe I had never met you before yesterday. I still don't believe that.
It was a little crazy, it was I don't know if we need to get into the exact details of it, but it was a bit of a bro fest there for a second. It was Dave, Josh. It was that coming together of the minds. Dave Denholm is the guy who had the original LA Galaxy podcast in Los Angeles. We've simply just picked up the mantle from him whenever he decided that he couldn't possibly take all you crazy fans anymore.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think you're right about the Bro Fest, because I think people were looking at us after about 30 seconds of that, a little weird. They had one eye crossed at us at the luncheon yesterday, but that's okay. That's okay. If they knew our history, they would understand. That's all that matters.
That's exactly right. Dave and I were both invited guests to the LA Galaxy held a media luncheon yesterday. They invited, I think, a bunch of the media. There were about 4 or 5 tables of us. They sat us down in the American Express Club, and they fed us a wonderful lunch. There was some short ribs on there, Dave. I don't know if we need to go into the food, but the short ribs were delicious, and I enjoyed them immensely.
Well, I've got what doctors would call a bit of a weight problem, to paraphrase the great Chris Farley. But, I do love my food, and it was good. I mean, it was really top-notch. That club does a good job with their catering, actually. I haven't been up there often, but when I have, they do a good job there. And It was a good lunch. Nice.
It was very nice. But the real highlight, of course, was the fact that the sitting at the table with us was, it was Larry Morgan from LAGalaxy.com. Larry's been a guest on this show. Josie Becker, who writes for MLSsoccer.com, if you know Josie on Twitter. And you had Rob Stone from Fox Sports. Do you know who the other gentleman was? Because I feel like an idiot. I'm sure it was somebody really important, and I have no idea who it was.
That is my big boss, Jonty over at Fox.
See, exactly.
The big shot. Yeah, he's the big time suit. So it was really a pleasure to see him again. And I got to tell you, Josh, I was a little surprised he remembered who I was. That was fantastic. So we don't see each other too much at work. So
everybody knows.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. And I've only been able to I've only been in his company a few times, so I was surprised that he knew who I was, frankly. But super guy.
Yeah, he seems like a great guy. And then, of course, the honored guest at our particular table. There were 4 guests in attendance from the LA Galaxy, or at least sort of the 4 headlining guests. You had Kurt Onalfo, you had Pete Vianis, you had Jermaine Jones eating the vegan option, I should point out, at his table, and then you had Jelle Van Dam. We may have picked Jelle Van Dam's table on purpose, knowing that it might be an excellent time, and we sat and got to talk with Jelle for about an hour, maybe a little over an hour.
Yeah, actually, I think, it was funny because after about that time, we looked up and it was like a ghost town there, except for all of us, like 6 of us.
That's right.
We had just been talking and weren't paying attention. Maybe Jelle was just, he was leading the conversation. He wasn't just sitting there fulfilling an obligation. He seemed to be having a good time like we were. And it just, all of a sudden we all look up. And I actually kind of, Josh, if you recall, I kind of was like, well, thanks, Jelle. We appreciate it. It was almost like,
yeah, you can go.
Gotta go.
Yeah.
I feel bad. Like I could sit here and ask him questions all day, but it's finally because he wasn't ready to go. He wasn't certainly making any implications that he was going to be. Hey guys, I gotta get out of here. But it was just like I almost felt like it was time for us to just say goodbye. So what a guy. Yeah, just class act.
Yeah, and it was my first ever extended sort of talk with Jelle, and I've been a fan of his ever since he joined the club. Just his attitude around, he's a jokester, he is that fun guy, but the guy's serious about soccer whenever he needs to be, and his philosophies on life are kind of amazing. And it's not one of those things, he talked about a lot of personal stuff, and that's not the stuff that you need to understand, except for the fact that he's really excited about being in Los Angeles, and he sees this as a huge opportunity, Dave.
Yeah, no question. I mean, and to put Galaxy fans' minds at rest in a way, including myself, he's giving up a lot to be here, like both personally and professionally, and loves it so much that it's worth it for him. That said a lot to me. I was really impressed, but more importantly than being impressed as a fan, now I know I was there in a media capacity, so I would never talk like that then, but as a fan, I was like, this guy believes, I say it all the time, Josh. There's been times when I've talked with players that, you're not really sold on whether they really care or not. This guy believes in what the Galaxy are trying to do. He believes in what he's trying to do with the Galaxy, and he cares. And that's all you can ask for. Really, when it comes down to it, look, some guys are going to be better than others physically, mentally, whatever. They're going to be better players. That's just sports. This guy believes. That's all you can ask for out of your captain.
Well, I thought it was interesting. He said that, originally whenever the LA Galaxy had sort of asked him about it, he said no, and that it was a trip from Bruce Arena, Jovan Kirovski, and Kenny Arena over to Belgium to watch a game. He sat down with Bruce, and basically after that meeting, after that dinner, they sat down for dinner. He was like, okay, I'm ready to come. And we asked him what his first opinion of Bruce Arena was. And do you remember what he said? It stuck out in my mind immediately whenever he said, because I was like, wow, that would be the opposite sort of opinion I think anybody in the media would have about Bruce.
Yeah, very, I don't know, word for word, but he was very, not a jokester, but very personable.
Yeah.
And he connected with Jelle on a personal level, which, not to say that Bruce Arena is not personable on some, but Jelle went out of his way to say, to kind of point out how different we think of him compared to what, maybe what he had as an impression his first time.
Yeah.
Very personable, very, down to earth, just, in the moment kind of, and really a nice guy.
Yeah, and I think he also said that Bruce was very calm, right? And it was one of those
calm.
Yes, calm was the word.
Yeah.
And I jumped out and I was like, wow, calm, Bruce. And he I think he even asked his agent, do you think Bruce ever gets mad? Right? And I'm sitting here. We all laughed at the table. Obviously, we've all seen Bruce a little upset with the media at one time or the other. And if you ask him a stupid question, you're gonna get an answer. All right.
But,
so, yeah.
Did I hear wrong though? It kind of felt like Jelle was saying though, in the locker room, he never really was anything but calm, even. Even like you would think Bruce would go nuts, occasionally throw some chairs or something, but he gave the impression that Bruce Arena was really a cool customer pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting takeaway from it, just in terms of knowing Bruce the way we do as media members. And I didn't want to say that then, but I thought it was the funniest thing. The funniest quote, one of the funniest quotes I've ever, one of the funniest kind of, not quotes even, but to paraphrase, Bruce Arena always felt like the toughest part of the job of U.S. national team manager was handling the media. Come on.
Yes, I know.
That's like the easiest gig on the planet in terms of the soccer world. I just always got a kick out of that.
Well, and Yella even said that he was happy to deal with the media here in the United States, and I think we got down to the fact that the media is softer here. I definitely agree with that. I'm a little soft around the edges as well, but also not always looking for the negative with him, and he loves the fact that he can just be himself here in Los Angeles. And even whenever we asked him, what other, I think Rob Stone from Fox, Rob asked, where else in the United States have you really loved that maybe you didn't realize it? And he goes, no, there's no other place. He goes, it's just Los Angeles, right? And even to the point he said that whenever they were on like a week-long road trip, I think they had to go to Chicago and New York and do that road trip, that halfway through, him and Giovanni Dos Santos were saying, when are we going to get back to L.A.? Like, they were just yearning to get back to L.A., and that's how much he loves Los Angeles.
Well, that stuck out at me because it wasn't like he was saying, Kansas City and Columbus trip. Like this was Chicago and New York.
Right.
These are big, These are metropolises in and of themselves, fantastic cities. And he was just like, it wasn't like it was a trip to, Columbus and Portland although Portland's a decent town, but I hate them anyway. But, so it was pretty impressive. This guy is in love with L.A. That's the bottom line. And he loves playing for the Galaxy. I mean, he basically referenced that anybody overseas, it's all about the Galaxy. They want to know what's going on here, in terms of anybody who's even remotely interested in MLS as a player over there. It's all about the LA Galaxy.
Yeah, which is interesting. It was one of those, again, he said that if he was going to go to MLS, because his agent had asked him about a year and a half before the move actually happened, his agent said, do you want to go to the United States? He goes, if it's not Los Angeles or New York, I don't want to go. That was it. Mm-hmm. And realistically, it was L.A., and once he realized it was L.A., that was sort of how it went. I also thought, and I don't know if you got the same impression from him, but they asked about, as we were talking this conversation event, a very fluid, nice, like you're just hanging out at the table, enjoying a great chat with somebody. Yella's very down to earth. I think he expects other people to be down to earth as well, just sort of how he acts. But, one of the things somebody asked was, how are you going to be able to handle all this with Robbie Keane gone, with Steven Gerrard gone, with these big names gone? And Yella basically said, nah, don't worry about it. Basically, as in, there may have been some large personalities. He wasn't saying those guys weren't great, because he actually went out of his way to say those guys were great. He goes, but sometimes with those large personalities, the younger kids couldn't be themselves, and perhaps that team didn't reach its full potential because people weren't being themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And let's be realistic. Look, I'm not even reading between the lines on his comments. These are my thoughts about a guy like Robbie Keane. I mean, it has to wear on you as a younger player at times to constantly be yelled at. I know he's trying to get the best of him, or he can hide behind that. But Robbie Keane can be a pain in the neck on the pitch. Let's face it. If it's not going his way. And yeah, that's great when you're banging in 20-plus goals a year. You're allowed to do that. Guess what? When you have the career that Robbie Keane has had. But it doesn't mean it doesn't affect young players still. Even if it's fine, even if coaches encourage it, even if Robbie Keane has all the leverage he wants and all the rope to do that kind of thing, it still affects kids who are learning the game and trying to play at a certain level. And, whether they want to admit it or not, and whether they would even hold it against a guy like that or not, it's still going to free up the locker room. Look, Jelle Van Damme is the best choice for captain for this team. No doubt about it in my mind. And even just spending a few minutes with him only confirmed that. I mean, he was the backbone of that team last season, and he'll be the backbone this season. He is the captain of this team going forward, and it's a great choice.
No, superb choice. Excellent. Almost a no-brainer whenever you really think about it. If you know the team as well, it's a no-brainer. But at the same time, you had a guy like Jermaine Jones, who's going to be one of the vice captains. You had a guy like Jermaine Jones who could have easily come in and, everybody sort of says, oh, well, you got to give it to Jermaine Jones because he's, all the experience he has. But Jelle Van Damme is the captain in just the way he acts. I mean, somebody pointed out to me that even whenever he's on Snapchat or any social media or anything, he's always wearing a Galaxy hat. He's always got a Galaxy, scarf with him. I mean, even when he's in Belgium, he's like, I'm the LA Galaxy. This is who I am. And I think that is such a huge positive to this season getting ready to start on Saturday that it's unbelievable. Dave, I have to ask you, I know one of the biggest LA Galaxy fans I know, it's you. How are you even feeling through this offseason? Because we haven't talked in a while. We got to talk a little bit yesterday, but how are you feeling going into FC Dallas in the beginning of the season?
Look, I'm excited about the new season, no question. I always get that way, and just look, as a regular sports fan, it doesn't really matter what sport you love. And, when it gets close, it's time to go, and I'm ready. And I think this team certainly has the building blocks, and it is set up to have a good year. Kurt Denholm was as frank enough to say that he thinks they're going to win. Obviously that's what he's supposed to say, but
right.
He really believes it. I mean, he believes they have that kind of talent, which is good. That's what he should say. I'm not quite sold, Josh, that this is the best team in MLS yet by any means. I mean, on paper, the dreaded quote, if we're healthy, yeah, we're going to beat a lot of teams. We're going to look real good at times. We're going to look unbeatable at times, I suspect, with some of the talent we have. Giovanni Dos Santos and José Zardes, of course, Alessandrini, if he, can kind of, formulate or kind of mesh with the team. Sebastian Lletget should have a good year. Of course, Van Damme will lead a pretty darn good, solid backline. I know you're going to disagree. I have serious questions about goalkeeping.
Okay,
I think
yes.
we're weak there, top to bottom. I really do. Not that Brian Rowe is capable of making some massively incredible saves at times, but he makes a lot of mistakes. And he is the best keeper we have, in my estimation, in terms of right now. So that doesn't really make me all that confident. I don't think he runs a defense too terribly well either. He's a decent shot stopper at times. Makes a lot of mistakes, and I don't think he's the greatest formation goalkeeper, for lack of a better word,
okay.
keeping and formulating the defense in front of him. So that's a big concern for me. But again, we're a team that can threaten, and if we play up to our potential, there's no reason we can't win. This is a team that should have a very good year, but I don't quite think we're up to the top of Galaxy standards right now. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, and ultimately there's no big name to sort of park yourself behind and say, don't worry, we have this person. You could try perhaps with Giovanni Dos Santos. Again, I think 15 goals, 11 assists last year, which was great. But even when he did that, it was more quiet than it was, this guy's dominating the league. And he still has a tendency to disappear in games, and it's hard to hitch your wagon to that guy right now.
I know. Think about it, though. That's 26 goals he's responsible for. I mean, that is a huge amount of goals in a 34-game season.
It is gigantic. You're right.
That is superstar level, granted. Now, that may not be the best by any means in the league, and I'm not sitting here telling you he needs to score 30 goals, but he has to do that with this team and then some. And there's no guarantee of that. I mean, 26 goals is still a lot to be responsible for combined, Josh, and yet we need more than that out of him, because you're right, he did disappear too often at times. And if not for a whole game, he disappeared enough where he wasn't a big enough factor to really get going offensively. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, we've got a lot of weapons.
Right.
I'm still very concerned about the offense week in and week out at times. And you know what? What concerns me maybe more, Josh, than even just what we did, it's what the rest of the league has done.
Yeah.
The rest of the league has gotten a lot better on average. They really have. I mean, we're playing FC Dallas in the first game coming up on Saturday.
Right.
I am scared silly by that team. They're better than us.
Oh, they are.
I don't care. I mean, I have no doubts of saying that. They're a far better team than we are right now.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see how that goes down. Dave, why don't you tell everybody where they can listen to your wonderful radio show and where they can find you?
Well, here's the thing: the radio show, we're still working out some details for the new year. So but 710 ESPN. I wouldn't kill you if you shot them an email or something along the lines of get the soccer back on, because they are certainly fans of the show. We're just working out some details with sponsors and stuff, and they love the show. They were very happy with it. So I'm very grateful for 710 ESPN, my former home in radio, to become my soccer home now.
Right.
And I do stuff for Fox Soccer, of course, on television. I host Bundesliga matches by and large, FA Cup, things like that. You can find me on Europa League, Champions League, wherever you see Fox Soccer doing stuff. Generally speaking, I might be hosting a little bit of that. So that's predominantly where I'm at right now.
No, it's great, and of course on Twitter @TalkSoccer.
Appreciate it.
That's where you need to go.
Good
All right.
stuff there, yeah.
Yeah, Dave is excellent again. The guy who created the very first LA Galaxy podcast, I just follow in his footsteps. We finally got to meet in person. It was amazing. I think that's really Jelle Van Dam is an amazing person that has summarized what we talked about right now. And FC Dallas is really good, right? I think that's where we're good.
Really
right?
good, really good. Yeah, they're scary good. And, you're the best, Josh.
Awesome,
Appreciate
Dave.
it, buddy.
Thanks so
for the
much.
time.
Yeah, and we'll talk to you soon, I'm sure. All right.
You got it. Go Galaxy.
All right, there's Dave Denholm, one of the original soccer voices in Los Angeles, a guy who is so much fun to talk to in person. Is exactly like you hear him here, and we had a great time talking with Jelle Van Dam. Literally one of the highlights, I think, so far of my my press career so far is getting to talk to Jelle Van Dam at that table with those people who are surrounded there. And Rob Stone, I apologize for not coming up and introducing myself. And we missed each other there. So, Rob, anytime you want to be on the show and, put out another rant on the New England Revolution or any other team, maybe it's a different team that deserves your ire right now, you're more than welcome to anytime. All right, we get now and we turn our attention to the LA Galaxy playing against FC Dallas on Saturday, March 4th. This game kicks off at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Pacific time. Early game. Again, we told you the gates are going to open at 8 o'clock. All right, 8 o'clock. That's so ridiculously early. So the gates to the stadium open at 11:30. I will be there. I'm sure a lot of you will be there as well. The LA Galaxy will host FC Dallas. We've talked about them coming off of their recent win and the recent win and in their advancement in the CONCACAF Champions League. And it is going to be an interesting time for LA Galaxy. This is all new. We know that Robbie Rogers is out. We want to talk about guys who are out. Giassi Zardes is going to be out for this game. I don't expect him to come back. I think he just started training with the team today, either Thursday or Friday as it happens. There's just not enough time. Hopefully he'll be ready for the next game as the LA Galaxy get ready to take on FC Dallas, and then I think it's Portland after that, if I'm correct. I can never remember exactly what it's going to happen, but this is going to be an interesting game. It's a nationally televised game found on Univision, so if you want to listen to it on the radio at all, you can find it on lagalaxy.com, and remember the SAP button is in full effect, so make sure that you're able to figure that out before the game starts. The LA Galaxy should go with the starting lineup of Brian Rowe. Brian Rowe will be at the back. It's your back right. You're going to have Rafa Garcia, Daniel Steres, Jelle Van Dam will be in the center. Ashley Cole still out with an injury. Expect him to be out up to a month or more. Excuse me, as we go. So you can look for somebody like Dave Romney to make that cover there at left back. If for some reason Dave Romney can't go, you're looking at Nathan Smith over there at left back. Nathan Smith newly signed for the LA Galaxy. In the central midfield, you're going to have Jermaine Jones, and you're going to have Joao Pedro. Out to the right is going to be Sebastian Lletget. Roman Alessandrini. We'll see whether he gets the start or whether they're going to bring him in off the bench. I believe he'll probably get the start, maybe even go 60 minutes. If not, you're looking at 45 minutes from Roman Alessandrini, and if it's 45 minutes, he might not start, and if he doesn't, you're looking at Emmanuel Boateng in there, and then you're going to get, it's probably going to be Ari Lassiter. Ari Lassiter up top to start with Giovanni Dos Santos. I would prefer Jack McBean in that position. Jack McBean and Baggio Husidic, who were both out with knocks in the last preseason game against Portland, both trained on Tuesday and Wednesday was the last I saw, so they were both full training participants, so they're both available for the LA Galaxy as they come up this week as well. FC Dallas has just such a wealth of talent available to them. It is going to be very interesting to see how LA can even start to combat some of their possession and some of their speed. This is not an LA Galaxy team who should have a problem with speed, but there's just so many good players and some of these new additions. Christian Coleman from Paraguay came in. He scored one of the first goals versus Arabe Unido in the Leg 1 of the CCL quarterfinals. You have winger Roland Lamar. He's formerly of a Premier League Swansea City and La Liga side Osasuna. Longtime MLS veteran Javier Morales is now on FC Dallas. Venezuelan midfielder Carlos Sermano, and two potential starting outside backs in Chala from Ecuador and on the left Grana. So you can look for those guys, and it is just going to be amazing to see what this FC Dallas team can do or not do against the LA Galaxy. We have big questions about the LA Galaxy. We've said that we've had big questions about the LA Galaxy. Some of these guys who are coming in, like Ari Lassiter, like Rafa Garcia, like Dave Romney, are all going to have to step into the starting role and perform. And they don't have to just start performing. They have to start performing against one of the best teams in Major League Soccer. In fact, a team that I think a lot of people will pick to win MLS Cup starting out right now. I think they have to be a favorites after they were sort of disappointed in not winning the MLS Cup after winning U.S. Open Cup and the Supporters Shield last year in 2016, and it's going to be just such an amazing show. Oscar Pareja, the coach there, is just done such a good job bringing in those youth, and you're talking about a team that loves to cultivate youth, and this is actually a team the LA Galaxy may even be following or trying to mirror in how they develop youth. The difference is I think the LA Galaxy are still going to be able to go out and drop money on those big names, and I know some people think maybe that's not the case, but this is AEG. They have the money. It's not like they don't have the money. So if the LA Galaxy needs somebody in the summertime, I expect AEG to open the pocketbook, all right? Because so far this season, I think they've spended wisely, and they've done a great job doing that in terms of who they've brought in. They bolstered the midfield. The defense is the shallow part. We've talked about that at length with Robbie Rogers getting hurt and Ashley Cole getting hurt. All right, that is the weak link, but you look at the LA Galaxy 2 guys. Now, if those guys turn out to be serviceable and they can do it, the LA Galaxy now have a lot of depth at defense. And Cardinalfo, even at the luncheon, says that he thinks this team has depth. He knows these LA Galaxy 2 guys, so he's going to rely on them and their depth to fill those holes, and you're going to see some of that at that FC Dallas game. So that's where we sort of leave it here. LA Galaxy versus FC Dallas. I realistically, in my heart of hearts, Jelle Van Dam said something interesting. He said, the travel in Major League Soccer is so difficult that he wouldn't be surprised that he's never surprised that the home teams win so many games. All right. And so you have FC Dallas. They are traveling. They're rested. There should be no reason for them to be tired. They're certainly going to be on a high coming off of the CCL wins. And they're coming into StubHub Center. They shouldn't be that tired. This is all at the beginning of the season. All these things are working in favor of FC Dallas, but ultimately they have to come in to StubHub Center and beat a team that I think will be difficult to break down through the midfield, even with what FC Dallas has. All right, Jermaine Jones, Joao Pedro, Jelle Van Dam, right down the spine, Giovanni Dos Santos in front of them, Ari Lassiter sort of in front of them. You have a decent spine for this LA Galaxy team. I'm with Dave. I have said all along I think this team is going to be unbelievably exciting to watch. That doesn't mean that they're always going to win games. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be breakdowns because they're young, because they're learning. But I don't disagree with Dave saying that, in certain spurts, this LA Galaxy team this year could look way better than what we saw last year from the LA Galaxy. And they could look like they're world beaters. They could look unstoppable. It's going to be about building that consistency. And the first game against FC Dallas. Remember, Bruce Arena lost some season openers, all right? Now, he's Bruce Arena. He gets a pass. What happens if Cardinalfo loses his season opener to one of probably the best teams in Major League Soccer? Are you already on that bandwagon to rid the LA Galaxy of Cardinalfo? You got to give them time to settle in? This is all the questions that get answered on Saturday. It's finally time to stop prognosticating and guessing and seeing what's going to happen. It's finally time for LA Galaxy Soccer and a chance to analyze what has happened. What is good? What is bad? What worked and didn't work? And whether or not you can give full credit to this front office for the revamp that they have done on this roster, or whether they get all the blame. That's the exciting part about this game coming up, is it's no more talking about it. It's time to play. The LA Galaxy will host FC Dallas 1 p.m. on Saturday. Go to lagalaxy.com/tickets and make sure you get your tickets, and we'll see you out there. Wanted to give a quick heads up. Brian Sousa at Figure Things Out on Twitter is working and working on trying to put together the Portuguese night. The LA Galaxy have announced Portuguese night as April 29th versus Philadelphia. He wanted to get all you Portuguese people up and running and happy and excited about this. So go at Figure Things Out on Twitter, and you can get in touch with Brian, and he'll help you figure out what you're going to be doing for Portuguese night. Again, April 29th versus the Philadelphia Union. That's a 7:30 p.m. game. Portuguese night at StubHub Center. All right. Again, head on over to our website. Hit the Contact Us button. Type in your information under the Friday substitution. That's our email where we give you discounts on merchandise upcoming and all the other things that you can get, including highlighted LA Galaxy content from Corner of the Galaxy right there to your inbox, just in case you were busy, just in case you missed it. It'll be right there in your inbox. So again, the Friday substitution, go to cornerofthegalaxy.com, and you can find that sign-up sheet. Go ahead and do that. The next one goes out on Friday. Tomorrow, if you're listening to the show live, that's how it works. All right? All right. I'm trying to think if there's anything else exciting and new. We're going to get into some of the some of the MLS rules that have come out, and the player and the roster rules and all the fun things. That'll happen here coming up in a little bit. Maybe talk about that on Monday with Kevin Baxter. There's some interesting things in there, but realistically, nothing's changed too much that it's crazy to think about. But we're going to talk about that. The new salary cap is at $3.845 million for all of you trying to play the salary cap game at home. Other than that, the LA Galaxy finally get to kick off the season. They're ready. Saturday versus FC Dallas. I'm going to be exhausted by the time that game is over because all of this build-up to it has been driving me crazy. I'm ready for this game to go. It is time. LA Galaxy, FC Dallas. Finally, we're doing it. No more talking. No more prognosticating. No more guessing. Everything is going to happen on Saturday, and we will be right here whenever you want to talk about it. All right. I want to thank the LA Galaxy and their coordination for getting LA Galaxy 2 head coach Mike Muñoz on the show. And again, a big thanks to Dave Denholm for not only sitting at lunch with me and pretending like I'm interesting, not only for starting the very first LA Galaxy soccer podcast, but also for calling in and give us a great intake on his LA Galaxy, as he'll tell you. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. All right. That'll do it for me. I'm Josh Guesman. You've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast, and be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. And for all of your independent LA Galaxy news, discussion, and entertainment, including this podcast, head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. Fans, thanks for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.
For my